just gonna outright say it. I think I had an affair. Hey guys, it's Kitten, and today we're doing another past life video. Oh my god! This one is not the alien one or my Scotland one. This is the Roman one. I really want to actually do all my human past lives first and then my alien ones, because I really want like people to like savor those and like have a lot of anticipation for them, because they pretty much, at least one of them, are really intense and really fascinating, and I think people will really either hate them, like them, or make conspiracy theories. I don't know. I really want people to like really savor those and blah blah blah. I really wanted to save those for last. My ancient Rome life is definitely also like my Japan one. I don't know much about it, but I do have very strong feelings of what happened. I do know about my childhood in this life, which is actually really rare and really funny. Besides my Scotland one, it's the only one that I really remember or have feelings about of my childhood. It's always my adult life that stands out the most with a lot of my past lives. Even the alien ones, it's always my adult life. I don't know anything about my childhood as like an alien, my past lives for those. It's just my adult ones. This particular one is definitely the only one I'm concrete know about, is the childhood part of my life in this one. So where to begin? This one is definitely, it's different. It's not your atypical ancient Roman life that you would think I would have. I was not a slave. I was not a common people. I was definitely higher up. I wasn't poor or anything, but I wasn't rich either, if that makes sense. This one I'm very confused on, like when exactly it happened during the Roman Empire. Obviously it happened during the Roman Empire, I know that much. But for people who don't know history, the Roman Empire is kind of not only big in size, but they did last for a long fucking time. So I have like hundreds of years of that empire that I could have been in those hundreds of years. So it's just like, it's too big for me to focus on one area where my life was. But there is like general cues of when I was alive, but still there's things that contradict each other, which makes it very confusing for me to know which area of the empire I lived in. Okay, we're gonna start in the beginning of when I actually found out about most of this life. A few years ago, me and a friend who I actually shared this life with, at least in childhood, we decided to go to a museum in California that I actually had been to once before, and I really fucking liked it, because it's the whole museum, like the building itself is designed like an ancient Rome villa. The architecture of the museum is designed to look like an ancient Roman villa, and it's so cool. It's so cool. Like I wouldn't even go there for like the art pieces. It's a plus, like having historical like artifacts in the museum, but like the building itself is just like So I don't exactly know the name of the museum off the top of my head. My editor self will put in pictures and a name for the museum right now. What you're seeing is where it is and what it is. It's really pretty. I highly recommend, if you're in the area, I highly recommend you guys to go here. Like, it's so good, especially in the summer, because I think the plants around the building will be in like full bloom, and like there'll be more vegetation, I think in the summer or the spring or the summer. But it's It's so good. Like, I can't praise this place enough. Like, they even have a replica of a ancient Roman theater of sorts. It's so cool. It's so cool. One of the reasons why, like, we went there in the first place is because my friend was doing a report on something for their history class, I think it was. I think the college professor wanted them to go to this particular museum or another museum. Like, they had a choice or something. And I remember, like, highly recommending this place. So we went here. This was after us, like, we had already, like, discussed past lives. We knew, like, past lives existed and stuff. That was another factor going into the place that we were going to, is we wanted to see if being around an authentic villa, ancient Roman villa, and being around, like, ancient Roman Greek artifacts would, like, jog our memories in a sense. Is another reason why we went. And oh, it definitely did. It definitely did. That's one of the things that I highly recommend people to do if they really want to know about, like, past lives, is definitely go to a place that reminds you of that time and place. Like, we were just lucky enough to have a museum that was built to look like a Roman villa, which definitely helped jog our memory. Okay, so pretty much me and my friend get there, we park, we do our parking thing. I think you have to pay for parking, if I remember correctly. It's either you have to pay for parking and you have free admission, or you don't pay for parking but you have to pay for admission. It's either or, I think. So keep that in mind if you plan on going. There's certain areas of the museum that we both kind of had, like, intense memory stuff, and we did talk about, like, past life stuff as we were going around. We slowly started to piece together our lives in our ancient Egyptian life. And we both kind of already knew that we were both female in that life, but because of us going there, we really started to piece together what happened. We found out that I was born into like I said, I wasn't rich, I wasn't poor. And I was a little on the wealthier side. I still had my parents. I don't know if I had siblings or not, but I get a feeling that I was an only child. I'm not really sure. Hello, airplane. And my friend, who also shared the life with me, found out that their family had been killed, or they died, or something happened, but they were definitely on the poor side of things. But the whole reason why we even knew each other is that our dads were best friends. Like, they were really close and really best friends. And because of that, my dad brought them into the house and took care of them. My mom, on the other hand, did not like that. She didn't like that my dad did that. I found out my mom in that life was a little bit of a bitch. A little bit. But I can't really put that past her, because back then, for women, you had to marry into wealth. Her big thing with me was since, like, I was a kid, she was training me to be a good wife and to pretty much attract a wealthy husband. So pretty much everything my mother did revolved around me getting married off eventually. And that was something I grew up with, so it was not very... I didn't resist it as much as, like, movies do. Like, you know, on TV shows and movies, like, there's always that girl that gets married off to, like, a suitor, and they have an arranged marriage, and she always resists it, and, like, always hates it and stuff. Not that I didn't hate it, but it was just a part of life. It was something I was raised to know that was eventually going to happen, and there was nothing I could do about it. So it was just something that I accepted. My friend, on the other hand, didn't like that. I was being sent off to marry some random guy. I think she was more... Because she was poor, there was, like, kind of no chance for her to marry into a wealthy family. So she never had that pressure from her family, especially her dad. She didn't like that I had that pressure. So there's that. I think I was shy, but I wasn't as outgoing as her, I think. She was definitely, I think, a lot more outgoing than me, a lot more outspoken. She definitely set her mind a lot more than me because I wasn't allowed to. Then there was my dad. I was definitely a little daddy's girl. There was a moment when we were at the museum, my friend and me were kind of wandering around by ourselves, and there's a room. If you go there, go to that room, because this is the room I'm talking about. There's a room, I think, either on the first floor or the second floor. It's a big room. It's connected with like a bunch of other bigger rooms. If I remember correctly, there's like a wall of windows, and in front of those windows is these lines of busts, male like busts, of marble busts. There's just like, I don't remember, I think they were like sculptures of important people and emperors and shit. But what was weird is that there was one particular sculpture that I was drawn to both times I went to that museum. I took a picture of that same exact statue both times. It was the freakiest fucking thing. Cause like the first time I went, I was drawn to this statue. I took a picture of it. And then the second time I go into the same room, same statue is there, same other statues are there. And again, I'm only drawn to this one statue. Since I was with my friend the second time, the past life spiritual stuff was magnified, so I felt a lot more. If you're with a person who's also spiritually sensitive, and not only is that, but also shared a life with you in that particular past life, and you're both experiencing this past life like memory burst shit, it definitely intensifies everything. It magnifies everything you will experience. So because of that, I was really intensely feeling for certain things. I was more intensely drawn to certain things. I was more intensely remembering stuff. An intense melting pot of like not only being in a place that looked like the past, but also had artifacts from the past. And then I was with someone who I experienced the past with. So it's just like this intense melting pot that like intensified everything. So I go into that room and I am again drawn to that statue. At that point I hadn't remembered that I also was drawn to that statue first time I went. And I remember staring at it. And I wasn't even staring at the statue of the guy, but I was looking at the craftsmanship and the artwork of it. And I started crying. And I got this intense realization of my dad sculpted that. Like, my dad made that. And I had an intense realization that my dad was an artist. He sculpted statues. He really liked the feel of stone under his hands and the feel of different materials of earth that he can manipulate. And he really enjoyed that stuff. And because of that passion he had, that's why we were not poor. Higher ups saw the potential of my dad's artwork and pretty much paid big bucks for it. Because of that, like, I know that my dad made a lot of work. Like, he did a lot of, probably, I'm gonna be honest, probably a lot of, not a lot, but there's probably a few artifacts in that museum that he made, which is really weird to think about. It's just weird to think about that, like that particular statue he made. It's just weird. It's weird. He may have not made that particular statue, but he probably did similar works. It's just, I get kind of emotional when I think about him. I can feel that she loved him so intensely. I'm gonna be honest, it kind of reminds me of Lois Lane's and her dad's relationship. How they were so close it kind of reminds me of that relationship, what me and my dad had for that life. It was so intense and we were so close. There's a few things that I experienced in that museum about certain artifacts that was a bit intense and a little weird. I think it was amber, the stone, not like a person. The material amber, I think, was one of my dad's big materials he worked with. I think he made jewelry with it, I think, or little figurines or something. He worked with amber. If you go there, actually, there will be a lot of amber artifacts in that museum. And there was one room in particular, or actually just all of them. Whenever I saw any artifact made out of amber, I had this overwhelming urge to put it in my mouth. I know that sounds weird, but I think when I was a baby, like when I was like not breastfeeding anymore, but like when I was like probably between like a newborn and a toddler, you know, when those like babies are kind of exploring their stuff, they like to put things in their mouth. I think I have a memory or like a tendency I did that I would go up to my dad's little amber pieces and put them in my mouth and start sucking on them. I think it's something I did regularly, and I think my dad thought that was hilarious. But I get a feeling that my mom hated it. My mom definitely was a lot stricter than my dad. My dad, being an artist, was definitely a lot more free-spirited, a lot more laid back, while my mom was all about elevating the family with me, marrying me off. Like, that was her thing. And because of that, she kind of sucked at being a mother when it counted the most. So because of that, I was always kind of iffy with her and yeah. Another little memory that I have, we were probably around like 9 or 10, and if I remember correctly, my friend was older than me in that life, I think. Yeah, so if I was 9, she was probably 10. The age difference kind of came into play for this particular memory we both had at the museum, which is kind of trippy. There is a set of stairs. I don't know if there's multiple stairs, but at the museum there's like this set of stairs that, like, I don't know if it's made actually by marble, but it's made out of stone, and it's really pretty. I really like it. It's made out of some kind of granite or marble. I remember we kept on walking up and down those stairs because subconsciously we were remembering that we did that a lot. Or at least there was one memory where we kept doing that. The particular memory that we were both having was us as kids running up and down these beautiful marble stairs. And one of the things that you have to remember, that stairs in ancient Rome were not really a thing, because a lot of the buildings and houses in ancient Rome were one stories. Like, there was no double stories, there was no reason to have stairs. So stairs were both of a rarity for both of us. So stairs were just new, and especially like such pretty stone stairs like these were just so fucking pretty and like fascinating to us that there was, in this particular memory, we kept on running up and down the stairs, like, and we were racing each other. I remember there was one part of us running up and down the stairs where I kind of bitch and complain that I wasn't as fast as my friend, and it's because I was younger. I didn't have like as long legs as her, and like she was taller and I was shorter, so it was just like this age difference between, like, I was smaller and she was bigger, and like she kind of rubbed that in my face, I think I remember, and it was just fun. It was really, really fun. And another memory, like, thing that was added onto that we both kind of talked about at the museum was that where we were, where like this place was with these stairs, was this really expensive house with this really high up person who owned it. But one of the things that we both remembered is how empty this fucking house was. It was weird. And also that we were there because my dad was there for business. I get a feeling that it could have been like the emperor of the time's house, or like it wasn't the palace, I don't think, but it could have been like a summer villa for the emperor or something that we were at, or like a villa of like what were the higher up politic people called in ancient Rome? What were they called? The politician people? I don't remember what they're called, but they're just counselor people, like, who ran the ancient Roman government or something. Like, they were high up. It was someone really high up, like close to the emperor or the emperor themselves, that owned the villa. It was really fun for us, like us being kids, running up and down these stairs. One of the things that we pointed out is like no one was there. Like no one was there. That's one of the reasons why we were just kind of so hyper about running up these stairs, because no one was there and like we wouldn't get caught doing it. We did get caught by my mother, who came with us, but that's besides the point. But I remember the reason we were even there is because my dad was probably doing an art piece for this important rich person. So there was that, and that's where like kind of the memory ends for us, is us getting caught by my mom and like us, like her disciplining us and shit, particularly me. That's where that memory ends. And then we went to more of the garden-y area of the museum. There's, if you go there and if you look at pictures, there's this long fountain thing with 2 statues in it. There's this area right next to it, like with a wall separation, with like this little dirt path with like plants and trees and shit. And I think there was definitely a place similar to that in our lives. We probably, I don't know where we were, but it was like some kind of garden-y, fountain-y thing with plants that we were walking around in this memory. In this particular memory, me and my friend in the museum were walking around these plants on these dirt paths, and we were talking, and then we were both struck with like the same type of feeling and memory of us in that past life, walking and talking and doing the same thing we were doing. But the conversation was about me getting married off. We were older in this memory. We were probably around mid-teens. I was probably 15, 16. She was probably 17, 18, around there. Just keep in mind, remember that back then people married off a lot younger than now. I was at that age where I was ready to get married off. So the talk we were having in the garden is, I had already been picked by a suitor, and it was already arranged and everything that I was gonna marry this guy. So the talk was me leaving and not being able to see her anymore. So it was a really, really sad talk. It was really depressing, and it was just really sad. It's not that like I was forbidden to see her or anything. It was just, once you get married, you kind of get separated by your old life. I think I was able to catch like the suitor of like a really, really high up, wealthy suitor. So I was definitely going to like upgrade. I was like upgrading from like middle class to like really high class. So because of that separation, it definitely distanced you from like the life you did have. So there's that. I think I remember the suitor I married, he wasn't old. He wasn't like an old fart or anything, but I don't think I particularly felt anything for him. I think I'll get to that in a second, because this, like, I really want to get into like a part where I think happened, but I really want to finish like the childhood memories first. So we were talking about like me not being able to see her anymore, and it was just really depressing, really sad. She was really angry and sad about it, and it was just really emotional. We were having the talk in that particular garden is because in the next few days I was gonna be gone. Like, I didn't have a lot of time left to spend time with her. So I was definitely in that mindset of, I think I was a little excited because I was like, my life was changing completely, but I was also frustrated and sad because I couldn't bring my friend with me, and I would be leaving my dad, and I would be leaving my mom, and like I would be leaving this whole life behind me. So there was a lot of change going on. So that conversation was definitely fueled by a lot of sadness, a lot of change, a lot of intense feelings. And that's pretty much all we really got from the museum when we were walking around. And onward to the more skeptical, non-concrete memories that I have of that life. This is stuff that I've really thought about on my own. And by the way, side note, the only reason we didn't really have memories of our adult life is because we weren't really together when we were older, so that like part of our lives was not as intense with our memories for that one. So a lot of my adult memories that I have are just stuff that I feel strongly about, just like my Japanese life. So I'm just gonna outright say it. I think I had an affair. That's partly why I said when my suitor was not old or anything, but I didn't particularly have strong feelings for him. That's why. Because I have a very, very strong feeling that I had an affair in the marriage. I don't know if he did. He probably did, let's be honest. But I think, honestly, it was just kind of like a thing that I don't think either of us knew about we were doing, but it was okay that it was happening, I think is what that whole deal was. I'm gonna get into something. For those of you that don't know, I really fucking love the TV show Spartacus. I think I've told this before. Also, for those of you that don't know what the TV show Spartacus is, it's pretty much a TV show that follows the history of Spartacus and him being a slave and him rising to power and shit and leading a rebellion of slaves. But one of the things about the show is that it's really hypersexual. Like, there is some intense sex scenes. Like, there's orgies, there's fucking like... There's just a lot of orgies. There's a lot of full frontals of both genders. So there's a lot of dick, vaginas, boobs, and asses, and just a lot. There's a lot. So that show is not for the faint of heart. So if you don't like the male form, or you don't like the female form, and you don't like those, actually, there's a lot of gay sex scenes too. Yeah, they're not shy about that shit in that show. There's just like, everyone's fucking everyone, pretty much in that show. And also another factor of that show is it revolves heavily around gladiators. That's something even before that show, even before I watched that show, that I had a very, very strong attraction to gladiators, even though gladiators were slaves back then and seen as like dirty killer machine guys. But I've always had a very high attraction to gladiators. It grew even more after that show because reasons. Especially because of that show, I started to really connect dots with my past life. I honestly think that my husband trained gladiators. I don't think he was like what's his face in the Spartacus show. I don't think he had like that was his main thing. I think he did own some gladiators and trained them, but I don't think he went out of his way to buy like a shit ton of guys and make them gladiators. Like in Spartacus. I think he saw it more of as a hobby that he can get money out of. I honestly think because of that, he still was able to train and make one of the better group of gladiators in that time. And I think that's another reason why my husband was so wealthy, is because he trained his gladiators so well that they were so good in the arena that he got a lot of money out of it. And not only that, he was probably a high politician and shit, and probably in the military. I don't know, he was high up and shit. But because of that, for those of you that don't know in the show, spoilers, even though it's not a spoiler, like literally the first episode, it's apparent. The gladiator champions Crixus and Lucretia, the wife of the house, the gladiator house, those two are fucking. Like the main gladiator and the wife are fucking. Spoilers. And for some reason, that whole relationship really spoke strongly to me. And that's partly why I honestly think I was screwing one of my husband's gladiators. Or all of them. I don't know. I don't know. But I honestly think it was my choice that started the affair. I think how it went is because I have this memory, I guess, that my husband was not home. Like, he was on some kind of trip. And I was at home alone with, like, slaves and, like, the gladiators, and I had nothing really to do. Like, I think it was still in, like, the first year of us being married is when this started. And because of that, like, I know I was only having sex with my husband, and I think I remember that the sex was okay. It wasn't the best, but because of that, I was more curious about other types of sex because I wanted to know what it really felt like when it was really good. I think that time my husband was gone was the time that I just kind of grew the balls and asked for one of the gladiator slaves to come to my room that night or day. I don't know when it was. But I remember, like, I really, really wanted to fuck him. I think because I was so new to it, I didn't know how to, like, start it. I think my intention of bringing him up was to actually have sex with him or not. I don't know. It's very confusing. But either way, how it really happened, I think, was he saw what I wanted, but I was too new and too afraid to, like, actually start it or, like, how to start it. If I remember correctly, this particular gladiator was very flirty. Like, he was a bit of a player, a little bit. Like, he was cocky. He was cocky, is what it was. And I think he saw that I wanted to do something, so he initiated it. And okay, I think one of the things that he said while he was doing stuff to me is that, like, he pointed out that I probably have never had, like, an orgasm before. And I think because of his cockiness, like, he pointed out that, like, I would with him. Like, he said it in this very specific cocky way, but it really turned me on. I think that was the first time that I did orgasm in that life. And once you orgasm, you can't go back, so I kept on screwing him. I think is what happened. Because for a lot of the time, even before I knew any of these memories, like I said, I had this weird attraction to gladiators. It was weird. You would think, like, you would be attracted to, like, maybe the soldiers in the military or, like, the emperor of the Roman Empire or something, but no, I was attracted to these slaves that fought in these arenas, and I thought that was kind of interesting. I remember dwelling on it so much that, like, I had to have had some kind of relationship with a gladiator. Like, it had to have happened because this feeling is way too strong. So I honestly think I did eventually have an affair with a gladiator. I don't know where this affair went. I don't think I was ever caught, but it might have slowly stopped. I'm not sure. I may have had even, like, other affairs with other men. I don't even know if I had kids. I think I had one or two, but I'm not sure. And I don't know if they were actually my husband's kids or not. Like I said, in that life, like the Japanese one, I don't know much about this life. I definitely know more than the Japanese one. But, like, with the adult version of that life, I don't know much about it. I just know I was married off to some guy who is rich, and I may have eventually fucked a gladiator. That's all I really know. I think that's what happened. I know there's, like, not really an ending to it, but it's just, I don't know the ending. I honestly don't. A lot of these lives, I don't know how I died, except my ancient Egyptian one, because it was so violent. The rest of the lives, I have no idea how I died. I don't know how I, like, was in my older age. I don't know how old I was when I died. Like, I don't know. So because of that, I'm going to end the video. Oh, before I end it, I really wanted to quickly mention, in my Scotland one I had mentioned, or my Egyptian one of those, I had mentioned that I really want to get tattoos for each past life. For the new viewers, what I mean is, like, I want a row of symbols that represent each life that go down my spine or my leg. One or the other. It's either my spine or my outside of my leg is where I want them. I want each, like, a symbol, like under a symbol, like one of those like things, but each symbol represents a life. In each past life video, I really wanted to like point out what symbol I would pick for each life, and I don't think I mentioned that for my Japanese one. I did mention it for my Scotland one, but I didn't mention for my Japanese one. I'm kind of tied between a katana or a traditional Japanese fan. I'm not really sure. It's one of those two. It's either a sword or a fan. But for my ancient Roman one is definitely I don't really want any other symbol besides this. It's actually gonna be a simple, really simple like staircase. One of those really simple staircases where it's just like a 90-degree angle and then like, yeah, one of those stupid things. But I really wanted the inside of it, like inside the outline, to look like marble, like to have the pattern of marble. So it pretty much represents two things of that life. The stairs memory that I had with my friend, and then my dad. Two parts of that life that I think I feel very strongly about. That's the symbol I'm getting for this life. I have no other choices that I want to do. Another thing that I wanted to point out is these are the two items I got from the museum. Strangely, they're actually both Egyptian, which is hilarious. This is obviously the armband I wore in my ancient Egyptian life. I've always liked armbands like this. I mentioned that in the ancient Egyptian life. And then this bowl that I hold. You saw this bowl in my tarot card video. It's the bowl that holds all my shit, all my spiritual shit. This is, I think, marble of some sort. It's stone. It's stone. It's funny because I was drawn to this particularly because it was simple. It was a simple design and it really emphasized the look of the stone. And I really, really wanted that, and I really liked that. And it's funny because I picked it up and there was like, I think, a card in it. And what it said is it's an Egyptian made stone bowl, which I found hilarious because this is like one of the items in the gift shop that I was drawn to besides the armband. So it's definitely weird that I was drawn to specific things. So yeah, I really like this bowl. It's heavy. I like things that are heavy. Wink. Anyway. Yeah, I really like it. It's one of the things that I know I'm gonna have for the rest of my life. So, that's the end of my ancient Rome video. And like always, I know this video is gonna be really fucking long. I'll try to cut out as much as I can to make it shorter. So, like, comment, subscribe if you want to hear more about gladiator sex. I just went there, yeah. Really, like, I really want to know what you guys think of certain things for this life, and if you want to hear, like, the lives that I have left are France and my two alien ones. Yes. And then my second half of my Scotland. That's what I have left, I think. If I'm correct. Yes. Wait. Yep, yeah, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'm gonna go, guys. Okay, bye.